You have to let go of control. And that's not an easy task for me, at least. It's really not easy. And I have to let go. And still to this day, I have to let go of that image of how things should be.
Hello and welcome to Self Talk. I'm your host, Rachel Astarte. Today I have as my guest Isabelle Fortin. She is a dynamic sales management strategist who seamlessly blends military discipline with a rebellious spirit. That sounds awesome. And as the founder of Rebel Sales, a consulting firm specializing in supporting sales team managers through mindset, Isabelle challenges conventions and encourages leaders to rethink their management methods. I love this, and I can't wait to dive in. I am a big supporter of all rebels of all kinds. Well, I should probably pull that back politically, but all right. Let's say spiritual rebels. And but I would love, Isabelle, to first of all welcome you to Self Talk.
Thank you.
And ask you, how did you get to where you are today?
Oh my goodness, what a loaded question, Rachel. Yeah, I'm my both my personal and professional journey is extremely eclectic. From my first job in the military to becoming a massage therapist. I'm a mindset coach. I own the gym. I worked in sales for many, many years as I was becoming a massage therapist in the beginning of that career. And to me now is just the final step. Well, final, no, I'm not dying, but it's the path that I found to merge everything together. So leadership takes mindset, it takes discipline that I got from the military. It takes a human touch, which, not necessarily, well, actually not at all physically, but which the massage brought me, because in massages, you don't only treat the body, you treat the mind, right? So for me, it's the accomplishment of everything that I have done up to this point, that I kind of took everything that I liked I picked everything that I liked and I was good at from every single one of them. And I made a career of only the things that I enjoyed because, why not? I could.
Yeah, beautiful. So how does the theme of rebellion come into this? So maybe you could just start by explaining, what is rebel sales? What does that mean?
Well, rebel sales is, I called it like that because of the Billy Idol's song, Rebel Yells.
Yes, excellent
And
song.
yeah, it is. And that song really, really speaks to me. And for me, it's doing things in an unconventional way. So daring to try new things and new ways of doing things, because the traditional way isn't working anymore. And I think that as humanity progresses, less and less convention is going to be working. So that's why I called it that way. And that's basically what I do is I invite the leaders, the sales team managers and the sales team leaders or directors, whatever the title of their job is, to actually step outside the box and look for solutions outside of the norm. And it's in my nature. Even as a kid, the word that I used the most often in my life, and still to this day, is, yeah, but why? Yeah, but why is it done this way? And I was never, even I grew up in the 70s, and even as a child, when you weren't supposed to challenge your parents' authority, for me, It wasn't a challenging attitude. It was a questioning attitude. I needed to understand. Yeah, but why do we do it this way? So if I ask for a permission to my dad and he'd say no, I'd look at him and I was mystified. So yeah, but why? Yes, but why? And so every course that I took, whether in the military or outside the military, I always questioned. So for me, because it's always been done this way is not a good answer. So I invite people to challenge that and understand why they do things the way they do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you're willing to look outside the norm, you find wonderful answers there.
Mm-hmm. So I have to ask, as you were talking about this, how did that questioning, that beautiful curiosity, how did that work in the military? And I want to clarify, we are talking about the Canadian military.
Yes.
Okay.
It didn't.
I thought maybe that might be the answer, but I would love to.
That's the bottom line, Rachel, and that's the reason I left. Actually, to be very honest with you, I had extremely open-minded first and second, and even sometimes even third degrees bosses and supervisors. So it wasn't, and it's not because it's the Canadian military. I think it's because it's the Air Force. It was a little bit less rigid than what is expected. But you can't. And that's why instead of doing my 25 years in and cashing in my pension, I did a little short of 10 years because the first 5 years you learn stuff. So that's interesting. And when I wasn't learning anything interesting anymore, then it got boring. And life's too short, man. I can't do boring.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I am incapable. It's not even unwillingness I'm incapable of doing boring. So I had to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you went into the business world.
I went into the business world while I became a massage therapist. So my first civilian job, I was a CSR, a customer service rep, for a big banking company. I did the credit card hotline. So, and oh my God, every day I would have to fight the urge to kill myself because I could feel my soul dying. I'm not going to name the bank because it is an American bank and you're in the US. But yeah, it was just, it's the kind of credit cards that, if you go to the store and they're the one financing the credit card, the store credit card, and it's buy now, pay later, and
yes,
without ever explaining that if you only pay the minimum payment, you're never gonna be done. And I've heard people on the other end of the call literally saying, I've been paying off that card for 23 years.
Oh God.
And I mean, they no longer have the sound system or the TV that they bought with it 17,000 years ago. So that was my first civilian job for a quarter of what my military salary was. But it was experience, Rachel, that I still use to this day, because there's nothing that will teach you business more than dealing with the public.
What a great statement. Yeah.
Yes. So that was such a valuable experience. It was just, I had to, for my own soul and for my mental health, I had to leave.
Yeah, it isn't always apparent to us when we're going through something that seems abhorrent to us, like a job that we don't align with. We're trying to figure out why, what possible lesson can this teach me? And sometimes it isn't apparent until much later. Did you find that to be the case?
Yeah. As far as learning how to deal with the public, that took me years after I had left that job to realize that that's what it had taught me. but I knew I was extremely unhappy while I was doing it. But half of my unhappiness at the time was also based on the fact that I was grieving my military career. So I come from a military family. Both my parents served in the Air Force in the 1960s. And when I joined in 1989, my brother was still an Air Force pilot. So for me, there was no question. You finish high school, you join the military. And so that's what I did. And it was a loss for me. I had to grieve the fact that it wasn't the right fit and that I now had to go into the world and find what the hell I was going to do when I grow up, right? I'm 52 now. I think I figured it out like a few years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm with you. We're not that far apart in age, and I'm 54. Everybody knows that. I'm like, why am I holding back that information? I probably say it almost every podcast, but yeah. So, so I get it. Growing up in the 70s, the 80s, and also, but getting back to the story of uh, sort of leaping past what you're used to, what the family business, as it were. There is a bit of an adjustment or even a grieving period that you might have had to go through.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I had to let go of the image that I had. And I think that that's one of the things that as humans, we do, and we F ourselves up because we hold on so tightly on the image of how things should be. We kill ourselves with the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. And but when you're willing to let go of that and be open about with what is, then magical stuff happens. But yeah, no, I had to grieve. It was a loss, and I was grieving the military. I was grieving the companionship. But there's nothing in this world that gave me more purpose than serving my country. And I'm extremely purpose driven, and as a general rule in my life. So I had to let go of that. I had to grieve that. I had to grieve my friends. I had to grieve wearing the uniform. I was extremely proud to wear a uniform. And plus, it's a hell of a lot simpler to get, dressed for work in the morning. And I had to grieve all of that at the same time as trying to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. So, no, it was an extremely uncomfortable period of my life, but one that I had to do. I had to. I didn't fit in the military structure. So if I was going to live a congruent life, I had to listen to the essence of who I am. And I don't fit in boxes. I'm too tall. So I had to let go of that structure. But it wasn't easy. It was extremely difficult.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point for listeners, because this is often what I will work with my clients on is the something isn't working for me in my life, but as you said, you're holding on to what you think your life should be instead of relaxing into, let me see what comes, what resonates with me. So this is maybe a leading question, but is that what got you into massage therapy? What pushed you in that direction? And I know you were doing customer service while studying or while actually doing massage therapy.
Actually, that's an excellent question, and I think I'm going to shock you with the answer. I became a massage therapist by accident.
Okay.
So, as a general rule in my life, if I have no reason to refuse something, then I accept it. Obviously, it has to resonate with me. I'm not going to go against my own vibe. But I became a massage therapist with absolutely no intentions of ever becoming a massage therapist. A friend of mine was doing a 15-hour, so a weekend class on introduction to Swedish massages, and she didn't want to go alone. And she invited me, and I had nothing to do that weekend, and I had no reason to refuse. So I thought, oh, I'm going to spend the weekend with Elizabeth, and it's going to be fun. I'm going to learn a thing or two, and you never know. Maybe one day I'll massage somebody, and I'll help somebody out with the little bit of knowledge that I will have. And I went to do the training, and at the end of the 15 hours, I went, well, is that it? I don't know enough. So I did the 200 hours of Swedish massages. And when I started doing that, then I needed, 30 hours of anatomy, and then 75 hours of pathology, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. And I was just interesting. It was interesting to me. I was interested. So I kept going with absolutely no intentions of ever making that my livelihood ever. It's just eventually I got to 1,000 hours of training, and I went, well, maybe I should monetize this. I mean, I am legally here in Canada. I am legally a massage therapist, and I, paid quite a bit of money to learn all these things. So perhaps I should do something with it. And I did.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, it goes back to what you were saying earlier. It's about seeing what's there and being willing to open that new door that just unlocked in front of you and say, hey, door number 3 is unlocked. And I'm just going to push to see if it's actually, it opens, because that's our jobs as humans. Recently somebody said, how do you decide what kind of services you offer? I said, I don't decide. My job as a human is to knock on as many doors as I possibly can and try as many things as I possibly can. And my biggest frustrations is that I'm not going to live long enough to do everything that I want and see all the beautiful places that I want to see. And when a door opens, I go, oh, okay. And I go, because that's my job, is to see what opens up.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But for that, Rachel, you have to let go. You have to let go of control. Mm-hmm. And that's not an easy task for me, at least. It's really not easy. And I have to let go. And still to this day, I have to let go of that image of how things should be. They mm-hmm. shouldn't be anything. Life is. It's there.
And I should think your genuine curiosity helps that momentum, right? What is there? What else is there? What else is there? And what can I learn? And trying to absorb as much as you can from this life. Yeah.
I'll be 85, and I'll be a full-time student at the college in my, just because I will never, and that's one of the biggest frustrations that I have in my life, is that I will never live long enough to learn everything I want to learn. Ever.
So. Yeah. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about Rebel Sales.
Yeah.
So you talk a little bit about what's called the anti-team approach.
Yeah.
Which, as an introvert, I love. Work does not play well with others, but well, I can, but then I have to nap for like 2 weeks. But I love this approach. And what are the risks involved in making a rebel conform within a team?
You can't.
Okay. Do tell.
And that's exactly what I have the managers, first of all, realize, second of all, accept, and third, hone in to the fact that you won't. You have to treat salespeople not as employees, but as subcontractors. And whatever target you have for them, if they are good at what they do for a living, if they are truly meant to be salespeople, the targets that they're aiming for themselves is going to be higher than yours. So you don't try to fit them in a box. The best way that I found to explain it, actually there's two, and I'm going to tell you both of them. The first one is leading a sales team is like being the coach for the 100 meters race. Stop trying to get them to work as a team. The only thing that they need to do as a team is pass the baton without dropping it. That's it. Let them run the leg of the race the way they see fit. So that's the first thing. That's the first way that I explain it. You have to be the coach for every individual and have them improve their leg of the race. Beautiful. The second one is, and I say that when I give conferences, is salespeople are brats. They are. They want the biggest toy. They want the most expensive toy. They want the latest toy, and they do not want to share. So when you are stuck with a bunch of 5-year-olds that are high on sugar, you don't try them to get to behave. What you do is you build a better playground. And as a sales team manager, that is your job. Build a better playground. Stop micromanaging them. They don't want to tell you they were at the movies on Tuesday afternoon. Stop asking them when they're going to see if the results are there. If you hired professionals, treat them as such. And the first thing, if I go in a company, it depends on what they sell, mind you, because there are salespeople that are extremely technical. If they sell engineering products or, robotic products or even computers, that's another ballgame. But salespeople should not have an office because they should not be at the office. You're not selling anything from a desk inside the company you work at. You have to be out there meeting the clients and develop relationships with them. And that's what, and sales managers are stuck. They're stuck between the rock and a hard place. They're stuck between the rebels and upper management who don't understand. And they are also stuck defending the fact that their workers and their employees are not at work to every other departments because they're envious of the fact that it's Friday afternoon and they're on the golf course. But they're on the golf course because sometimes and extremely often, that's where you build the relationship that's going to give you the business.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask, when you do this work and this coaching work, do you get a lot of pushback? Because it's very hard to change the status quo.
Yeah. Yes and no. I get pushback in the getting to work with me phase. Once they hire me, I don't. And that it is, I'm extremely good at setting boundaries. I've become extremely good at setting boundaries. And that was one of the question in being a guest on your podcast. And so I established how things work when they work with me. And if they send me money, they've accepted that. Mm-hmm. So the pushback is before. And honestly, Rachel, I'd rather not have a client than have a client that's going to bug me every step of the way.
100%. It's energy draining. Well, so you skipped ahead in my list of questions. So let's talk about boundaries. No, this is how it happens. So that was one of the questions I had. How do rebels establish boundaries at work or at home? What's the way that you advise? And I know how you have just sort of touched on how you do it for yourself, but when you're a rebellious person, and meaning, let's just say nonconformist, what does a boundary look like? I mean, you can get as specific as you need to.